Hello, everyone, and welcome back. You're watching Talking Out Loud with A.L. Cooper. I'm your host, A.L., and today we are talking about a very hot topic. We're talking about pit bulls. Are they a family friend or family foe? Now, before we went to break, Angela, you were giving us your account of what happened to you in regards to your babies. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was such a brave moment for you to just express yourself, because I know how hard it is. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing that story with us, to get our perspective of what it feels like to have had that happen. So I thank you for that. And I'm sure our audience agrees with us the same. And one thing that I love that you said is, you said that you are not necessarily against or for anything. You just want to make sure that if it is an aggressive breed, that it's not, expound more on that.
Well, especially like what Blake said, knowing what you're dealing with. Had I have really known what pit bulls were capable of, going into having children, I would not have kept that breed as a dog. I would not, if I would have known what pit bulls were capable of, before having kids, I wouldn't have owned that particular breed of dog. Now, as a single woman, it was fine. But then again, last year there were more adult fatalities than children fatalities, so it's really hard to say. But I do feel that everyone needs to know what their dog is capable of, so then that way, if they're educated, they'll know how to govern themselves accordingly. And if they still, because I have conversations with pit bull owners often. I mean, you can't tell somebody that their child is a sociopath. I mean, if a doctor told me, hey, my daughter is, because of these particular traits, she's capable of going and doing something crazy, like a massacre or something, I'd be like, get the heck out of here, like, she's honest. I mean, she's a good kid. She goes to church with me, she plays the piano, she makes great grades, so you couldn't tell me that my kid is potentially, regardless of what you said she did at recess, So I get it. When people love their animals, it's really hard to get them to feel any differently. You can't unlove someone. It's hard. You can, but it's really hard to unlove something or unlove someone. But if someone goes into a situation, I have a lot of people that reach out to me and say, oh, thank you for sharing your story. I was considering a pit bull, but because I have children, I decided to go with another breed. Mm-hmm. And those are the choices that are, some people say, no, Angela, here's pictures of my dog with my kids. It's all good, and I can exchange. I got pictures of my kid with, my dogs, and that's great. But here we are, talking about the death of my son. So I think people that know, absolutely know, I think what would be a great idea is kind of like nutrition facts. Yeah. Should come with every breed of dog and say, okay, this breed
has this type of information about it.
Last year this breed had this many bites, regardless of what breed it is. Last year this breed had this many fatalities, regardless of what breed it is. All dogs should come with nutrition facts, so people can decide that, oh, you know what, this is not nutritious for my home, or you know what, screw it, like me, I'll down a Coke. I don't care if it cleans battery acid or if it'll eat my kidneys. I like it. I gotta die somehow. So.
and I want to just say you're absolutely right. Like, I know, Blake, you and Dean both deal with training as well as rescuing animals of all sorts, not necessarily pit bulls. Do you feel that education of maybe more about the particular breed would help with all of this?
I absolutely agree, and so do the partner rescues that we work with as well. When we place a pit bull into a home for adoption, there is a huge, huge process that goes into selecting a home, and the home being the right for both the parents, children, other dogs, and the dog. If it's not a good fit, we deny the application based on that, because like her situation, that is the last thing any of us in rescue want to happen, because there's probably nothing more heart-wrenching than to lose a child for any reason whatsoever. There's not a but to follow that.
Do you do a stress test? Do you do a stress test?
Yes, we do. We do a temperament testing with multiple dogs prior to ever introducing him for adoption.
And may I say something about the temperament testing? When, of course, after my son died, of course, they tested Kissy Face for 10 days. They had a specialist from Florida and someone from upstate do all types of temperament testing to see what could have happened. And the detective broke down at the end and just cried. She cried. She said it. She cussed a little bit, and she said it was a freak occurrence. That's what they closed it out, because they did everything that they could to understand why this dog did that, and really looked shameless, like, what did I do? What did I do? That's how Kissy Face looked after she killed my son. There's nothing. It's a scale. You have to really ask yourself as a parent or as a dog owner, and knowing what the possibilities are, is it calculate the risk. Even if all pit bulls don't attack, even if all pit bulls haven't bitten anyone, but that it could happen, and if it does happen, what's the severity? What's counting the costs? What will the costs be? For me, my husband and I, we're divorced now because it was my dog. He hates me. I lost my marriage. I lost my son. My daughter is broken. My daughter is so broken, and I don't know what to do.
Dr. Baker, what do you do? What do you say when you have someone come to you traumatized like this? How do they get over that?
As far as a loss goes, the loss in and of itself, if that's the issue, then in a way it's not different than other loss. I mean, when we know someone's going to pass away, it's always easier than when it's unexpected, than when it's an accident. When it was a pet or something, there's that sense of responsibility that comes in that makes it harder. And so in that case, a lot of times it is talking about your story, which is something that you're doing. No matter how I might feel about the legislation piece, that's absolutely important to talk about it. In the case of someone like your daughter, it becomes, is the issue just the loss? Is there also phobias or anxiety forming around that? And the anxiety wouldn't have to be just about dogs, but it can be about the world. If something happens when you're young, the message you just got is that the world is scary and unsafe. And we can project that onto everything. So a lot of the times that's the work we end up doing when people come to us, is sort of helping you realize that the world is not a bad place. Not all people are bad. Not all dogs are bad. If we're feeling responsible, realizing that we can't predict things that happen. And even things like your idea, I love the idea of the nutrition facts. Knowing what we're getting into. And I mean, that even goes, we have these hyper dogs that jump and people adopt them and they're not ready for it, and then they abandon them because they weren't ready.
Like, what dog is likely to chew up my high heels? Like, I need to know these things.
I need to know that too. Yes.
Like you breed dogs, you deal with a lot of dogs. Pit bulls are not the only aggressive breeds. I mean, there are some other dogs, even little bitty dogs, that could be considered aggressive as well.
Absolutely. Chihuahuas bite almost just as many people as pit bulls do, but they don't kill.
Right.
Chihuahuas can kill. They've killed infants.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. Jump up on the bed, Chihuahuas are very territorial, and jump up on the bed and grab the infant by the throat. And there was a few things she said I want to elaborate on. One in particular about she didn't hear anything. What happens here, and right before going to that, you mentioned that they evaluated the dog and they said it was just a happenstance. When they say it was a happenstance of sort, in the behavior world of dogs, these particular dogs, they possess a targeted prey drive. What that means that for weeks they can contemplate on what they want, and they're opportunists. Like that rabbit story, that was clearly a sign of a very aggressive drive. All right. Not only do I want to go in and kill this rabbit, now other dogs would have killed this rabbit and it'll lie dead and there'd been very little blood. But this dog is going to wipe the floor with this animal. Now, what happens when a dog with that much power, and the dog that's designed to do what they do, they go straight to, it's like a cheetah going to the throat, all right, or a lion doing the same thing. So when it hit that child, the reason you didn't hear anything, because we all know that when a child's afraid and it cries, it breathes in. It takes that deep breath. Right? I remember being disciplined as a child, and I felt the first whack of the belt. And, right? Well, that dog grabs, and it doesn't allow that air to escape, so you hear nothing. This is a perfect animal to do what it does. Okay? The other thing is, we humanize dogs. When we humanize dogs and we treat them like an equal, then no one is in charge in the house. This dog has to answer to no one. Right? Now the pecking order is lost. Now it's not dad, mom, oldest child, youngest child, dog, where it should be. It's dad, dog, or mom, dog, child, child. So the dog can feel it needs to discipline, because dogs discipline each other. They check each other all the time. Right? And a pit bull has such a drive. Now, it doesn't know, I won't say it doesn't know what it does. What it does is it does what it does best. It's a killer. When it decides to kill, it's the best breed of dog we have on the planet to kill. It's not anyone better than what it does. There's not another dog on the planet that was trained like this dog was trained. He said it himself. There's not another dog on the planet that was abused this dog has been abused since the 1800s, since it existed, since it came on earth and was created. We welcomed him into our world and abused it and trained it to do violent things.
So to answer the question, family friend or family foe?
Depend on the family.
Can I weigh in?
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a clear answer, but you had brought up the whole, what if your kid was a sociopath, right? Mm-hmm. And when we have kids who have sociopathic traits, or more commonly kids who are autistic and can be violent, mm-hmm. we tell the parents, here's how you interact with this child to keep everybody safe, keep the child safe. And I agree. I think if you're going to adopt any dog, you need to know, here's the background and here's what you're in for. And you're going to need, there are some dogs you need to be very dominant with. There's others you don't. Aside from, abuse in his lifetime. So I don't think there is a clear answer. I think the answer is that people need to be responsible, and they need to only adopt an animal that they are in a position to care for, and where they can reach out to professionals and say, hey, can you help me, help me discipline this dog so I know how to interact with it. The same way if you had an autistic child, you wouldn't just go, he's banging his head against the wall. No, you would go get help.
Right, that's true. So I guess as I'm the everyday person here on the panel, because I don't know a whole lot and I've not gone through a whole lot of traumatic experiences and I'm not rescued. If I wanted to adopt a dog, or if I wasn't sure and I didn't want to go through the same thing that poor Angela had to go through with her family, how can I find out the history behind a dog that I adopt? How do you know?
A lot of times we do not know the history of the dog. And not knowing the history of the dog, we have to evaluate the dog based on what Blake's methods as well of stress testing, temperament testing. We have to rely upon that. We do not put dogs in foster care with foster families that are first-time pit bull owners because of various reasons, and one of which being, if you're an inexperienced pit bull owner, you will miss the signs.
Can a dog have a trigger that you don't know about?
Absolutely. Although sometimes the dynamics of a different home change or different environment may be a trigger, or it may be what stops the trigger. It's a lot of it's environmentally driven, and also it's, as Blake alluded to, the dominance and the hierarchy it's established with each and every dog, and it's different. It varies from breed to breed, as we have found.
We can't ignore that 62% each year, between 62 and 64% of all fatalities are by pit bulls and pit bull mixes.
By people identifying them as such, which the CDC doesn't do anymore.
These are dogs that are recognized and caught and put down a lot of cases.
But Fulton County misidentifies pit bulls all the time.
Well, you know what? This is a hot discussion. We're going to have to do a show number 2 with this, because this is something that is such a heated debate. But before we go, I want you guys just to say, like Dean, if people wanted to know more about the rescue, what's the website that they could visit?
www.baan.org. It's Bikers Against Animal Abuse and Neglect.
And if they have like a rescue or whatever, they can just reach out to your organization and say, hey, I need some help with this particular pet.
Yes, and we have a lot of resources in place. Granted, the most difficult dogs for us to place are pit bulls for various reasons, one of which is behavioral and perception based on media coverage and so forth. So they're a little more difficult to place than, say, a poodle or a chihuahua.
Okay. Blake, if someone wanted to learn more about training their dog or reconditioning their dog to a more applicable, more behavior, a better well-behaved dog, what's the website that they can visit for you, or even wanted their child to attend one of your camps?
Well, you can contact me or reach me at kidsandcanine.org, and that's kids with a Z at the end instead of an S,
Okay.
and a letter K and the number 9 with an S at the end. Also, you can go to Dogg with Instagram and Facebook. The biggest thing is contact us, reach out to us, and if you want to pick out a dog, we sit down with families all the time, and I ask you a bunch of questions, and you find out which dog's best for you.
Okay. Angela, do you have some sort of trust or fund for your son?
No.
Okay. Well, you know what? They can contact us if they want to get in contact with you, and
Yes,
that's.
I used to have a way for people to communicate through my website.
Right.
But it was a lot of negativity, and I just
Kind of,
wanted to
understand.
grieve and heal and go back to it at another time.
Completely understand. And Dr. Rebecca Johnson?
Keep it simple. You can Google Dr. Rebecca Johnson or Concierge Psychology, and I should be one of the first results on Google.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's just been a fantastic show. Until next time, we'll talk out loud with you later.
Talking out loud with A.L. Cooper. She's talking out loud, but she's saying something. 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 Politics, religion, fashion, people, passion, lifestyles, no topic too wild. She's talking out loud, but she's saying something. She's talking out loud, but she's saying something. She's talking out loud, but she's saying something.